What is up, and welcome to this live post-game edition of Hoops from the Hills. As we just witnessed the West Virginia Mountaineers fall 73-60 to the Kansas State Wildcats in Manhattan inside the Bramlage Coliseum. West Virginia falls to 4-4 in Big 12 play and 13-6 overall on the season, while Kansas State improves to 2-6 in Big 12 play and 8-11 on the season. Just wasn't – my thumbnail says not enough. I thought that was a theme for this game. There was not enough juice for this team to start the game. They didn't come out with enough energy, enough bounce. There was not enough bodies for this team to play minutes because of foul trouble, injuries, whatnot. Not enough size on this team to compete down low and get rebounds and stop other Kansas State, in this case, from scoring underneath and protecting the paint. And scoring inside, is an issue. When you're a team like West Virginia and you live by the three-point shot and you have games where you can't make three-point shots, you're not going to win a lot of games. And teams that usually when a team doesn't make their threes, they fall back on scoring in the paint. This team doesn't score very well in the paint because they don't have enough bigs. Eduardo Andre's doing well. He's playing the best he can play, I think. He just doesn't have enough help down there. I think Eduardo Andre is being asked to do a lot more than he probably would normally be asked to do for this team, probably more than they anticipated him having to do coming into the season. Don't think they were even expecting him to be a starter coming into the season. But he's had to do that because of injuries and other players being out, being gimpy in the case of Amani Hansberry, dealing with that ankle injury that he's been dealing with, was limping some in this game. There's just not enough bodies, not enough healthy bodies, not enough size. And I just don't know where they find it. I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned about the rest of this season. I'll just be straight up honest with you. They still have 12 Big 12 games to go. And I just don't know where they're going to find the energy, the stamina, the healthy bodies to put out there, game in, game out. We knew it was going to be grueling. And I was really, really afraid earlier in the season that this day was finally going to happen. And then they continued to reel off wins, and I thought, well, maybe it won't happen. But, man, it sure as heck looks like it. I do want to be positive a little bit here. Just before we get into the stats, I want to say something positive. I do appreciate the way this team came out in the second half and fought hard, fought their way back in the game. They were down 24 at halftime. They lose by 13. So they outscore Kansas State, by 11, I guess, if you do the math in your head. They outscored Kansas State by 11 in the second half. They did not give up. There was fight left in this team. But if they had played the first half the way they played the second half, it might have been a different basketball game. I'm not sure what it was. I'm not sure if they're still dealing with any illnesses. I don't know. I didn't hear about that in this one. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure how banged up some of these guys might have been coming in, either the ones that, that did play. But, man, and I'll tell you something else. When you say, talking back to the theme of the show, not enough Tucker DeVries, because he's out. And I'm not going to – the young man can't help it. I'm sure. I cannot – I actually feel for him. I can't imagine how grueling it is for him to have to sit there, watch this team battle and fight and struggle, knowing he could help them, but he can't. I actually feel for the young man, and I really hope that he's able to get that shoulder or whatever it is that's injured healed up and get back out there next season, assuming he's not coming back this season. Maybe he can get out there next season, and we'll look back on this and say, you know what, Tucker DeVries redshirting was the best thing for this program. Let's hope that's the case, because right now it really, really seems to be hurting this team. Again, it's not his fault. I'm not blaming him at all. Yeah, I'm sure he did not choose to have an injury. And I'm sure it's painful for him to watch his teammates struggle and not be able to help them. But, man, do they need him to be on the floor. There's so much. West Virginia sports continues to have bad luck sometimes, man, and I can't help but wonder if there's a curse on this program for some reason sometimes, But anyway, I don't want to overreact here over two games. There are a lot, there's 12 more games to play. Yes, this thing could snowball and turn into a catastrophe Or you could also look at it with glass half full. There are 12 more opportunities for this team to get wins going down the stretch. That's the way I'm going to try to approach this. It doesn't look good. It's hard to be optimistic after the last two games we've seen, knowing that you may not have your second best scorer back, knowing that you only have eight guys really in the rotation, and you have very little size, and you're going to get out rebounded just about every night. And another thing, the theme of the show being not enough, one thing there is enough of now is film on West Virginia and how to defend them. All you have to do is throw guys at Javon Small and try to force other people to beat you. And as of right now, the last couple of games, they haven't been able to. Tucker's last name is DeVries. Rick? Tucker DeVries. Mark Painter, thank you for the super chat, brother. He says, not happy, but trying to help, bro. Hey, Mark, I really appreciate the help, man. I'm not happy either. But again, I'm trying not to overreact here. I'm trying to limit my expectations because coming into this season, I had very low expectations of this team. I expected 15 to 16 wins for this team. They're at 13 right now. So I don't think it would be fair of me to all of a sudden get mad at them for losing games when I was expecting them to do that in the first place. Now, did my expectations change the last few weeks? Absolutely they did, because that's what we do, right? You change your expectations because you see the team doing better. Or, it goes the other way if you see them doing worse. Because that's what we do as fans. But at the end of the day, there's still a lot of basketball ahead. There's opportunities for this team to improve, and there's also opportunities for this thing to really, really go to hell in a handbasket. But I'm going to hope and pray that it doesn't do that. Let's go ahead and see who all's in the chat, and then we'll get to some stats here in this live post-game edition of Hoops from the Hills. We've got Jacob Yoho in the house, Jay McClanahan, Jack's son Clark, Raven Grady, Kevin Vincent, WVU Fan 13, Steve Hendrickson, John Kelly's in the house, Doris Workman's in the house, Daniel Gigax, Mark Painter, Austin Olson, David Cummings, Russell Snyder, Rick Beverlin, Stanley Metz Jr.'s in the house, Brandon Bailey, Luke Armacost in the house, Curtis D316, Tanner Trax Premier. Thank you all for jumping in. Reva Atkins hops in the chat. Thank you, Reva. How many to win to get NCAA tournament? Well, Reva, earlier in the season, I would have said 17, 18 wins, but West Virginia's net ranking is not great right now. I think they may need to get to at least 20 to get in. So really, theoretically, they need to win 7 of these next 12 games, in my opinion. Or I'm sorry, yeah. They probably need to win 6 to 7 of these next 12 games. Now, I say that. They could also win a couple games in the Big 12 tournament as well. That would help. If they make a run in the Big 12 tournament, that obviously is going to offset some losses in the regular season. But I think they need to get to 20 wins more than – and that, again, that's just an assumption. They might do it for less, because of the wins they've reeled off. But I'm telling you, if you keep losing these games to teams you shouldn't lose to, they've lost 2 weeks in a row to average to bad basketball teams. One of those being at home to Arizona State. If you continue to lose those games, it's going to negate any wins you have over ranked teams. And you look at some of the wins like Mercyhurst, NC Central, those wins are not going to help you at all. Those teams are in the 300s in the net rankings, 200s and 300s. Out of 364 teams, those games didn't help them very much. But they had to play them because they needed to fill out a schedule. So they better reel off some wins here in the last 12 games against some good teams. They better not drop. They can't afford to drop a lot more games that they are supposed to win. I actually went into this thinking this might be a tough matchup for West Virginia. I didn't get to do my pregame show because I got busy at home with some things. But when you look here at the notes I had written down, the things that worried me about this Kansas State team, the things they're bad at, West Virginia's not good at either, like rebounding. They're the worst 2 rebounding teams in the Big 12. So you look at where West Virginia might gain an advantage. Well, When West Virginia's, you think, well, what maybe West Virginia gets an advantage on the glass. Well, you can't because you're not good at it either. Neither team goes to the free throw line a ton. I didn't see a whole lot of things, even though on paper West Virginia should have been the better team. I didn't see a whole lot of areas where West Virginia was just flat out better than Kansas State. I mean, Kansas State was 6th in the Big 12 in assists, so they passed the ball really well. I think that showed in this game tonight. They shoot 64% from field goals. That's first in the Big 12. Actually, David Gasson is 64% from the floor. That's first in the Big 12. He showed that tonight. Brendan Hassan's one of the best three-point shooters in the Big 12. He showed that tonight. So, and even though Kansas State going into this game had not been shooting well from three, they don't shoot a ton of threes. I'm sorry. They weren't shooting well from the free throw line. They also don't shoot a ton of free throws. So, that's not really going to help West Virginia any, right? You don't think? So I just didn't see a whole lot of, even though I thought West Virginia would win the game, I knew it would be tough. And I knew it would be a close game. So, like I said, Kansas State, I think, is a team who's better than their record shows. We all saw they're extremely talented. Coleman Hawkins, just a really good basketball player. I mean, when you look at his numbers coming into the game, he was averaging 10.7 points, 1.3 blocks, which was 11th in the conference, 2 steals a game, which was 5th in the conference, 32.4 minutes a game, which was 4th in the conference, 7 rebounds a game, which was 10th in the conference, and 4.4 assists a game as a 5, playing the 5 position, getting 4.4 assists a game. That's 9th in the Big 12 as a center. So he's just a really, really good basketball player. Just fills up the stat sheet in all categories. That's why he was the most highly coveted transfers in the portal. Unfortunately, West Virginia, is my understanding, tried to get Coleman Hawkins, but he ended up choosing Kansas State. The belief is, again, I don't know this, but the belief is Kansas State was able to shell out more NIL money. Scoring in transition was an area I thought West Virginia might have an advantage. That didn't work out. And then, you need a West Virginia limit the paint touches. Again, West Virginia faces a team that's better inside than they are, and that team took advantage of it. West Virginia just has got to figure out a way to stop teams in the paint. And I don't know, Jacob, to your question about Abraham Oyeter, I'm not sure what they're going to do with him, man. I guess they're redshirting him. I don't know. I'm not sure. All I know is this team has got – if they don't shoot well, they're not going to win a lot of games, period, because they're just not made that way, because they can't get enough rebounds to offset missed shots or to overcome missed shots. And here lately, they've been turning the ball over a little bit. Well, in this game anyway, they turned it over a little bit too much. They hadn't been doing that, but tonight they did. They turned it over way too many times to win. So anyway, let's go ahead and look at some stats here. I think that'll tell us a little bit more, give us a little bit more to talk about. Let me get them pulled up. I usually have them pulled up coming in, but I was in a hurry to get on here and do this tonight. So let's see. All right. Let's go ahead and do a screen share here, and we will pull up the stats. All right. West Virginia stats on the left, Kansas State on the right because they were the home team. Field goals. West Virginia 25 of 68, 36.8%. Kansas State 26 of 55, 47.3%. So again, West Virginia's opponent shoots a high percentage. Have to stop that somehow. 3-pointers. West Virginia only 4 of 21, 19% from 3. They're not going to win games shooting 19%. They're just not. Kansas State shot 6 of 17, 35.3%, so slightly better. Actually, quite a bit better. Free throws. West Virginia only shot 8 free throws to Kansas State's 22. Not a winning formula. Free throw percentage, 75 for West Virginia, 68 for Kansas State. Right at their season average. They're shooting about that for the season. But when you get 22 attempts, you're going to make a lot of free throws at 68%, right? 15 of them in this case. So they outscored West Virginia by 9 points from the free throw line in a 13-point win. Huge difference in the game right there. West Virginia just could not stay out of foul trouble. Now, some people may blame that on officiating. You know, I watched most of the game with my eyes, and I didn't see a ton of bad calls. There were some questionable calls, yes, absolutely. But I also saw West Virginia get away with some calls or get away with some fouls that didn't get called too. So it went both ways. The officiating wasn't very good, but I didn't feel like it was one-sided as far as fairness goes. When you look at the numbers, it sure does appear that way, though, doesn't it? Rebounds, 40-36 in favor of Kansas State. West Virginia closed that gap a little bit in the second half there on the total. But the biggest problem here was defensive rebounding. West Virginia allowed Kansas State to get 28 defensive rebounds tonight. You can't do it. Can't do it. And they also got 12. West Virginia actually out-rebounded them on the offensive glass 14-6. 14-12. Assists, Kansas State had an advantage there, 16-14. Now, going into the game, if I'd have seen that West Virginia was only 2 assists behind Kansas State, I'd have thought West Virginia wins the game because that's something Kansas State normally does better than West Virginia. Kansas State gets assists on a higher percentage of their shots than West Virginia does. But yet, they only win that battle by 2. Steals, West Virginia had one more steal, 8-7. Blocks, look here, 7-2. Kansas State not known for blocking shots, but they blocked 7 West Virginia shots tonight. Total turnovers, 11 for Kansas State, 10 for West Virginia. 10 is not a ton, but it's more than this West Virginia team had been committing, and they normally force more than 11. So, again, they didn't win the turnover battle by as much as they should have. Points off turnovers, the same, 10-11. They gave up 17 fast break points. You needed to prevent that. One of my keys here for West Virginia was to score in transition, because I assumed that Kansas State wouldn't be able to do that because West Virginia has been pretty good at stopping teams and scoring in transition. But the problem is when you miss, let's look back at here. When you miss 17 three-point shots, a three-point shot does what? It bounces off the rim back usually towards the shooter, or at least back into the backcourt. Gives the other team a run out. That's where those transition points happen oftentimes. When a team shoots as many threes as West Virginia does and is missing as many as West Virginia's been missing, it's going to lead to a lot of transition points. It's just physics, right? It's just physics. I think it's physics. Would it be physics or would it be, I don't know. Anyway, it's some type of science. All right. Points in the paint. Looky here. This is surprising. West Virginia had more points in the paint than Kansas State did. Here I was complaining about giving up points in the paint before I looked at the stat sheet. West Virginia actually wins that battle, 42-36. Unbelievable. I didn't see that coming. Fouls. West Virginia commits 23 fouls to Kansas State's 14. And in largest lead, Kansas State did lead by as many as 26. West Virginia never had a lead in this game. So despite winning the points in the paint battle and only losing the rebound battle by 4, West Virginia still loses by 13 because of 2 things. 3-point shooting and free throw shooting right here. Not percentage, but number of shots. When the other team gets 14 more shots than you do, they're going to make a lot more shots than you typically, which gives them an advantage. And when they make 2 more threes than you, there's your difference in the game right there. There's your difference in the game. All comes down to shooting. Shooting and not committing fouls. So they didn't keep Kansas State off the free throw line, and they didn't shoot the ball well. There's your difference right there. Rebounding, even though the rebounding wasn't great, especially in the first half, could have been better. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that's what cost them this game when you sit here and look at the numbers. Now, Coach DeVries might differ. He might, because I know that's a big deal for defensive rebounding is one of his one of the things he emphasizes. Not turning it over, defensive rebounding, and playing hard and good on the defensive end. Those are the things he puts emphasis on. And they didn't do very good in 1.5 of those. I mean, first half, they didn't play good on the defensive end. Second half, they did. So But you can't go in down. You can't put yourself in a 24-point hole and expect to dig your way out of it very often. It's just too hard. Let's look at the individual stats now. Let's start off with Kansas State since they are the winning team. They had 5 guys in double figures, man. You got to start off with Doug McDaniel, the really talented point guard who ended up with 15 points, 6 assists on the night. You've got David Gasson, 14 points, 2 rebounds, 4 block shots. You've got Doug McDaniel with Max Jones, 12 points, 7 rebounds. Coleman Hawkins, 11 points, a block, 4 assists, 7 rebounds. And then you've got Brendan Hassan with 6 points on 2 of 7 from 3. They contained him fairly well. Didn't give him a ton of 3-pointers, open threes. And then off the bench, you had C.J. Jones, the other Jones, with 10 points to go along with 6 rebounds. So those are your top performers for Kansas State. Now, for West Virginia, only 3 guys in double figures. Obviously, Javon Small did his thing tonight with 22 points, 3 steals, 5 assists, 2 rebounds. So another good night for Javon. You'd like to see that rebound number a little better, but your point guard shouldn't be getting most of your rebounds anyway. Let's be honest. But anyway, he did have 22 points tonight, 3 of 6 from 3, 7 of 16 from the floor, and 5 of 6 from the free throw stripe. Then you've got Sincere Harris. I'm still trying to figure out how to pronounce his name properly. He had 12 points to go along with 2 steals, 2 assists, and 9 rebounds, so almost a double-double for him. Toby Okani, 13 points, 5 rebounds. Here's something you can't have. The guy who has been your most consistent shooter on this season with a big goose egg. Jonathan Powell has to score for this basketball team to win games. I know he's in a little bit of a slump right now, and I'm sure he'll shoot his way out of it. And he's young; he's only a true freshman, so I'm not going to come down on him too hard. But as thin as this team is, especially with Tucker out, you need Jonathan Powell to step up and score the basketball, and he just was not able to do that tonight. Now, credit to Kansas State; he only got off 2 3-point shots in this game, so they did a really good job of defending him, in my opinion. But you need to figure out a way to get Jonathan Powell more shots and more points if you want to win games, especially in the Big 12. And Eduardo Andre had 8 points to go along with 5 rebounds tonight for West Virginia. Monty Hansberry off the bench with 5 points and 7 rebounds. I love Eduardo Andre. The young man plays his butt off, but I just really would like to see him. Oh, I said 2 rebounds. He's had 5 tonight. I would really like to see him do more on the glass. At 6'11", you're the only true big on this team that's playing anyway, that's getting minutes. I'd like to see him just get up to closer to that 7-8 rebounds a game mark. That's really where I think he needs to be to help this basketball team out. And he's helping them in other ways, blocking shots, getting points around the rim, those types of things. But they really need him to do a better job, in my opinion, cleaning up off the glass. Not a lot of help from the bench tonight. Jake Howard played a few minutes, only got off 1 shot, no points. KJ Tender, no points, no assists tonight, and no steals either. Joseph Yesufu, again, no stats for him either, other than a turnover and a foul. He did have 1 rebound and 1 assist. I apologize, but just not a lot of help. You need more help from your bench. When you're this thin, you need your bench to step up and do more for you than they did tonight. So just overall, Javon did his thing. Hats off to Toby Okani for doing his thing. Harris had a good game, and Eduardo Andre played decent. But other than that, Javon just didn't have a ton of help tonight, man. They need to give him more help. Teams have figured out how to guard this team, how to defend this team. It's on film now. So Coach DeVries is going to have to get real creative, which I'm sure he can do. He's shown that he's a really good coach. He's going to have to get creative and figure out other ways to score baskets when Javon's having an off night or is being double and triple teamed. All right, let's get back to the chats and see what you all have to say. WVU women playing Arizona right now. They're down 9-4. Kansas Houston tied with 13.9 seconds left. Thanks for the updates. Let's see. How many do we have on the bench? They've got what, 5-6 guys there, but some of them don't, Ofri Nave's redshirting. Obviously, Tucker's hurt. Jaden Stone's still hurt. and the other guys just aren't playing. Harris Elizovich not getting any minutes. Oyeter, the other big, is not getting any minutes. I'm assuming they're going to redshirt him. Jake Auer doesn't get a whole lot of minutes because, yes, he's a great shooter, but there are other areas of the game that they need him to help in that he just hasn't. So they're 8 people deep basically, and they have been that way all year for most of the year. And that's just, I think that's what we're going to see the most of the rest of the way. They're just thin, not much of a bench. Jacob, yeah, I do think they'll make at least the NIT. I'm still holding out hope that they'll make the NCAAs, man. I'm not giving up on them just yet. Hopefully they can bounce back from this. I don't know when they play again. I haven't looked that far ahead. Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm assuming. But yeah, Kansas screwed the end of that game. Yeah, Ofri Nove's okay. I don't think he was physically ready, Jay, to handle the rigors of a Big 12 schedule. If you notice last year, they kind of started him out of necessity because they were so thin to start the season, because, they had players that weren't playing early on. You remember Kirk Kriisa was suspended for 9 games, and you had the kid, his name has escaped me, the one who came back about halfway through, about 10 games into the season with a transfer because the transfer rule got overturned or whatever. You had him, Raekwon Battle. I was drawing a blank on his name. Yeah, you had Raekwon Battle not playing. You had Kirk Kriisa not playing. You had some other guys not playing. So Ofri kind of had to play out of necessity. And he did okay early on. But once they got into Big 12 play, you noticed his numbers started to drop and his minutes started to drop when those guys came back. I just don't think he was physically ready to handle the rigors of a Big 12 schedule. Ofri was only like 165, 170 pounds and is 6'8", 6'9". Very thin young man. And he needed to bulk up, and he's done that. He's starting to do that. He's put on a lot of weight, but I think he and Coach DeVries both felt it was better for him and his development to redshirt this year. So that's what he decided to do. Raven says, I know we have roughly 7 who can play, but how many can't play? Gosh. Elizovich is not playing. Oyeter, they're not playing. Either they're not good enough or they're redshirting. I don't think Elizovich is redshirting. I just think he hasn't performed well enough. Oyeter might be redshirting. Neve's redshirting. Then you've got Tucker and Stone that are injured. You've got a couple walk-ons and Aiden Tagaloa Nelson, Jake Auer, who plays a few minutes a game here when they need somebody to come in as a shooter. I'm not sure who else we have. I think that's pretty much it other than the guys that we're seeing. Now, they may turn around and beat Houston. It wouldn't surprise me one bit to see them beat Houston. I'll be honest with you. Just the way this season's going. They're beating teams they're not supposed to beat and losing to teams they shouldn't lose to. Chris Mitchell says, got to remember where Ofri is from. Probably better to stay in U.S. as long as possible. That's true, too. WVU Fan 13 says, do you think Small is a little too unselfish? He passed on a few open shots and is always looking for other teammates. Not an insult to Small at all. Think he could take over when he – I did notice that a little bit tonight, but more so even in the last game against Arizona State. I felt like he passed up a ton of shots. I was kind of assuming it was because he wasn't feeling well, because there was some rumors that there was a sickness going through the locker room maybe, and that he may have been sick. I thought maybe he just wasn't himself and probably knew he wasn't going to shoot well, so he was just trying to get his teammates more involved. Now tonight, I'm not sure. I don't know if there's still a sickness going through the locker room. If any of you heard anything about that, let me know. But yeah, I do think at times he needs to be a little more aggressive offensively. Now, on the other hand, there have been games this season where he's tried to do too much, like he's trying to force the issue. The Arizona game is an example of that. I think it was it's either for late first half or second half of that game. He was trying to do way too much. His teammates were struggling to score, and he was trying to carry the team on his back, and he was just trying to do too much. Instead of letting the game come to him, he tried to force the issue and committed a few turnovers. But it's like the last couple games, it's actually flipped and he's done the opposite. So he just needs to find that groove in the road, that fine line where, okay, I'm locked in. I distribute it when I need to distribute it. I go score the ball when I need to go score the ball. And he'll get there. I mean, he's had a few games where he has been locked in like that. WVU's beating Arizona 15-7. No, they're losing 17-15. Thanks for the update, Jay. Kansas and Houston. I thought that game was almost over. Did they go into overtime? WVU fan 13 said, or I'm sorry, Jay McClanahan says, any shot at beating Houston? Absolutely. They've shown they can beat Iowa State. They've shown they can beat Gonzaga. They've shown they can beat Kansas. Why not? Why not Houston too? It is at home. Now, that being said, I do think Houston, I'm kind of giving Houston the edge as the best team in this regardless of what happens in this Kansas game. I think Houston is the best team in the Big 12 based on what I've seen, based on their defensive aggressiveness, how they play. They have so many guys that can hurt you. Can they beat Houston? Yes. But if Houston comes in and plays their A game, I'm not sure West Virginia wins. You got to hope Houston comes in weary from the travel. You can feed off that West Virginia crowd. Maybe the Coliseum will be rocking. Hopefully the weather's better next weekend so you get more fans to the game. Hopefully the Mountaineer Maniacs will be loud and proud and show up. And hopefully the team shooting the ball. If West Virginia can come out and shoot the ball well against Houston, I think that will help them play better on the defensive end because it feeds their confidence. And once they get some confidence going and they get more aggressive on the defensive end, they start getting steals, they start getting turnovers, they start getting baskets in transition, they make more shots, and it turns into a domino effect, right? That's what they need to happen against Houston. If they can get off to a fast start against Houston, I like the odds. But if they get behind early against Houston, probably not going to be pretty because I'm just not sure as good as Houston plays on the defensive end, probably not going to come back against them. See. Yep, Luke, exactly. They need one person to compliment Small, and we had him in Tucker DeVries. But unfortunately, Tucker's injury is just preventing him from being able to play right now, man, and it sucks. It really sucks. I keep thinking to myself, though, wait till next year. Next year it's going to pay off. That's what I'm trying to tell myself. Jay says we have bodies, just not scores, and that's probably a better way to put it. We do need one more big, in my opinion, than we have outside of Eduardo Andre, because he needs to, at times he needs to take a breather. And Hansberry, yes, can play the 5, but he's not really a 5. He's more of a 4. Six at home, 6 on the road. Thank you for that, WVU fan 13. They need to hold serve at home. If they can win their 6 home games, I like their odds of getting in the tournament. Or if they win 5 home games and then pick up a couple road wins, I like their odds of getting in the tournament. Reva, I like the confidence. Reva thinks we will beat Houston. I hope you're right. I absolutely love your confidence. They do need to recruit some big guys, Raven, and I think they will. The 3 they have coming in for next year are shooters. I think they have some size to them, though, but I think they're more scorers than shooters. But I don't know if Darian DeVries really plays. The style he normally plays is not I don't know that he really needs a true big, but this team, just the way that if you've got enough guys who can score the basketball, it doesn't hurt you as much. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't need to rebound as many shots. But when you're struggling to shoot the ball, you need that size underneath to either score it around the basket, get rebounds, do other things to help you. They don't have that offset to overcome bad shooting nights. Hopefully they won't have as many bad shooting nights going forward. But yeah, I would like to see them go out, and I think they will go out and try to get one or two. They're going to need a couple bigs because Eduardo Andre is going to be graduating. So I'd like to see him go out and get at least 2 bigs, either in the portal or, the high school class has already been signed. So hopefully they can go to the portal and get them a couple bigs. Houston's up 1 with 1:45 to go. What a game that must be. I don't think he's faking an injury, Jacob, at all. I really don't. There's been some body language things with Tucker that you can kind of tell he's having issues. And he did have surgically repaired shoulder. And after one of the games in the Bahamas, you could see the bruises around his shoulder area where they had been doing that. I don't know what it's called, but I call it suction cup therapy. When they treat a joint or a muscle or whatever, he had been doing that on the shoulder that he had surgically repaired in the offseason. And then it was just a couple games later, they announced he was out. So something's going on there, I think. I don't think he's faking it. I don't think he would fake it. He's a tough young man. Davy Sater, thanks for joining the show, says he's not hitting the panic button. Yes, and the ugly, man, those uniforms. I'm glad you brought that up, Russell. Are those uniforms not hideous? Holy cow. I'd be okay with lavender on lavender or even purple on purple, but the lavender and purple together just does not look good, man. Throw those things in the trash. They are hideous. Holy smokes. But they won the game, so I guess that's all that matters. Yeah, Stone's having some issues, guys. He's had some family problems, I think, based on what Coach DeVries said in the presser. Plus, he got an injury, a really severe injury from what I've been told at practice. That's kept him out of games. So I'm not sure what his future looks like. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, listen, I'm going to cut this one short a little bit, guys. I just want to get on here and do a post-game show. Yeah, Jacob, Sags, I don't think Sags faked his injury as much as it was he probably could have played through his injury. And cupping, thank you, Earval. He did the cupping therapy. Yes, I could not think of the name of it. He had been doing that. But as far back to Sags, I don't think Sags was faking his injury. I just think he probably could have played through the injury and chose not to. Again, and that's my opinion. I remember Hugs making a comment in a press conference that I think he had been cleared to play. He kind of hinted at the fact that he had been cleared to play, but decided to get his own doctor's opinion. I don't know. There was a lot of speculation around that whole Sags thing, and I don't want to accuse young men. And I will tell you this though, when Sags went to the NBA tryouts and all that, his knee issue kept him from getting on an NBA roster, is what I was told. So it looks like that knee issue was legit for him. So I don't think Sags was faking it. I do think he had a bum knee. I don't know how bad it was, but it did affect him also at the professional level too. So I don't think he was faking it per se. But again, and he did have Sags had people in his ear too, according to what Hugs was saying. But again, I don't know the situation. I hate to speculate. I'm just going off what I heard based on what Huggins said and through some other people I had talked to behind the scenes. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna call it a night. I still have to go finish doing some things here at the house. Been a very busy day. I appreciate you all jumping on here with me tonight. Please come up. If you're watching this on X, please check out my Hoops from the Heels X channel at Hoops_Heels304. Please follow me over there. Also, please come check out the Hoops from the Heels YouTube channel. If you're watching on X, come subscribe. I'm only a few subscribers away from 2,000. Let's get this channel growing, folks. Let's get it up there. I want it to be one of the biggest West Virginia basketball outlets out there. So help me get to that point. Please hit the like button like Jay McClanahan says. Thank you, John Kelly, as well, my brother. Thank you for joining the show. You've been with me from the beginning, as many of you other folks on here. Thank you all. I appreciate you. Take care. Have a great night. If you're watching this on the replay, have a great day. And Q Country Roads.